Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited about today's card making video because I am playing with a super fun stamp set new from Trinity Stamps, and it's coordinating die set, which is like two die sets in one. It's the Little Charms set. You can see this 4x3 set has these little charms that look like crunchy marshmallows that go in cereal. I'm sure you know the one I mean. It has dies to cut out every single one of the stamped images, but there's also dies that you can use standalone to cut out these shapes, and they look just like marshmallows. I love it so much. So I am going to show you this set used three ways. First one is by stamping, coloring, and die cutting them out. But I always like to start with the background. So I am using this Clover background, hot foil plate, and opal foil. This foil is clear with an iridescent shine. Yeah, it's yummy. I'm putting it onto white paper and hot foiling that. So you can see how I do my hot foiling here. If you're not familiar with hot foiling, or if you're new to hot foiling, I have a ton of hot foiling videos, and I will link that playlist for you in the description box below so you can go in there, check it out, and get lots of hot foiling tips and tricks and get started and have lots of fun with it. So here, let's see what this background looks like with the opal foil. You can see when I turn it in the light, it's gonna pick up that shine and even that rainbow color, that iridescent finish. It's gonna be a great background for this card. So let's go ahead and stamp out all the images in the set. Now, when I stamp all the images in a set, sometimes I just tape the acetate sheet to the door of my MISTI and stamp it out. And then I like to stamp it like a few times, 4, 5 even, so I have extra, and then the next time I want to play with these, I have them all stamped and ready to go. So I'm going to color these just like the colors that they are in the cereal, and I am using two colors except for my yellow and my orange, just to give them a little bit of a highlight and a shadow. I just feel that helps them look more realistic. So you can see the colors I'm using there on the screen. Also, the packaging for the die set shows the colors of the marshmallows, and it's the same colors as they would be in the cereal, according to the pictures that I looked up on the World Wide Web. So there you go. So the balloon is kind of a reddish color, but it's kind of a pinky red. So you can play around with like the markers or pencils that you have and just get close to the colors, and I think you'll be totally fine. So you can see the star here is one of the few images that's more than one color, so that's why I didn't do any blending. The areas are just so small, so that's why I only did that. And then on the rainbow itself, oh my gosh, I fell so in love with this color combination. It actually inspired me to create a card just with the rainbow. So you'll see that. That's card number 3. I love it. The hat here is like 2 different shades of green, so that was really easy to do with 2 shades of markers, but I didn't do any like ink blending in the different areas. Sometimes I just color one spot more than I color in another spot, and that gives me the shading and the shadows that I like. So yeah, it's really fun to color these, very easy to do, and you could get away with just using one marker. So there we go, colored, and there you again can see each marker that I use to color these, just in case you like some inspiration or want to replicate it. All right, here is that die set again, and I am going to snip these apart and use the outer die here to die cut out all of these images. So they are easy to tape in place and die cut them out. You're going to get that nice white border all the way around, which I do love with die sets. So there they are, taped and ready to go. And then you can see what they look like die cut out. They always look so cute once you die cut out your images, and they are ready to go on my card. So for my card, I wanted to create a rainbow sentiment. So I brought out a red, a yellow, and a turquoise color of ink and did a little ink blending on this narrow strip of paper, letting my yellow overlap with the red and the blue so I could get a subtle rainbow. I love doing an ink blended rainbow. I'm using little finger dauber brushes to do my ink blending, and I got these off of Amazon. I find them really cool for small areas like this, so I will link my Amazon store for you in the description box below also, so if you want to check out some of my crafty Amazon finds, You can see them there. All right, so once this was done, I went back and forth between the colors till I got the saturation that I liked. I even brought in a little darker teal blue for the bottom. I am going to now use this to die cut out the word lucky. This is the Simply Sentimental Lucky stamp set and die set. I'm going to use the die for the lucky part. So this is going to cut out the letters for lucky. This one is going to cut out the shadow layer to stick those on, and I chose to use some white glitter paper. Then you can just glue the letters down to your shadow layer. There's also a stamp. You could stamp the word lucky and put it, the shadow layer then becomes the die for that. So it's really cool concept in these Simply Sentimental sets. Now, I wasn't exactly happy with the rainbow I got, so you're going to see how I fix that in just a minute. But I'm going to stamp You're My Lucky Charm. Well, I already did the lucky, so just You're My and Charm, which is the sub-sentiment from that set. So here you can see I brought back my Copic markers. They were still sitting out on my desk, and I used this to really give this more of a full rainbow. I was just feeling orange and yellow and green on here, so I really wasn't super excited with it, even though I had done all that work on the ink blending. But had with the ink blending there, it actually made it easier for me to just go in and touch up the color, and I was much happier with that. So back to my little charms, I'm going to pop these up on foam squares. And so I went with my 4 corners first and then filled in the sides. And then I had every single charm on there. There's 8, by the way, and I think it looks really cute. So this is sentiment is going to go right in the center, and I decided I wanted a little bit more color on my sub-sentiments. So I brought back my Copic markers and colored those so they had their own custom color. And I thought I could extend the look of the rainbow by putting the reddish color on my sentiment that's going to go above the word lucky, and my blue sentiment on the sentiment that will go below. I trimmed these down a little bit more with my scissors to be even more skinny, and then I was able to adhere those into place. I just used liquid glue for that, and there's my sentiment. Now to embellish, I'm using the Bubble Amore embellishment. So these are like hard 3-dimensional hearts with an iridescent finish. So the same kind of finish as my opal foil, that clear with the iridescent shine. So I did 2 hearts in between the images on the top, and then on the sides I did 1, and I'm going to glue that in place onto my A2 sized card, and then add some Bokeh stars. So these are also clear with an iridescent finish, and they're flat like confetti, and they just scream out St. Patrick's Day, the hearts, the clovers, the stars. I love it. So Lucky Charm feeling to me. And I had so much fun coloring out these little images. And for card number 2, I'm going to move on from the stamping and pull out the dies and use them on their own. So let's make a slimline card featuring this slimline star die set, which, by the way, I had a hand in designing at Trinity Stamps. So I love to play with this, and I thought it'd be really fun to pair with the Ray Bow die set. You can see it here, and I have a whole bunch of bows or rays left over from making this You Are My Lucky Charm card here. So there's another little idea for you. And so I am going to use these extras to create rainbows. Now, not all my rainbows are going to start with red or pink or the traditional way, but they're going to be in rainbow order. Now, you might see my paper looks a little messed up there on the left. I didn't like the angle of how I first glued these down, so I actually carefully removed them and then started to glue them back in place. So there are actually 7 bows to this rainbow. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and pink you can do, but that many just didn't quite fit. So I will leave one of the colors off each of them, even though I had them in all the colors, which I think is super fun. And then once I got to the edge, I just clipped it off. So I'm starting my rainbows as they're coming out from underneath the star and then shooting out. So I'm gluing it behind the star and then lifting up the little ray and gluing it down. And oh my gosh, I think this turned out so fun. Now this card, it's quite busy. It has all the things, but you know what? That's kind of how I roll sometimes. I love to just, I love to put all the things on my cards. Making a simple card is actually harder for me than making a complicated, very full card. I don't know. So my last card is more simple. You'll have to tell me what you think about the very busy card versus this simple card. I would love to know your thoughts on that. Okay, so I'm on my last star here, and you can see I had each of those rays of rainbow kind of angle in a different direction. It kind of gives me like a rock star vibe. I'm loving it. Also, it also gives me the vibe of like Rainbow Bright. If you are of my generation, you might remember that show. And then really, to give these some sparkle, I thought it would be fun to take my clear Wink of Stella and color each of those rays. Now, my Wink of Stella was getting on the low side, and I think I used it up on this card, and it was totally worth it. The sparkle and the shine on here is amazing. Okay, let's move on to the dies. So you can see I've taken every one of those solid dies and die cut them out from cardstock. I tried to do the same, typical colors for these marshmallows, and they look exactly like marshmallows. I wanted to give them a little bit of a shadow, so I tried to bring in a marker that was close to the same color and just do a little bit of a line on that left-hand side. And I love how that turned out. So you can see the markers that I used here, which probably weren't the same as the markers I used to color them in. I kind of needed them to go with my cardstock. So yeah, I think they turned out really, really cute. And I love that I have the option with this set to do the die cut or to do the stamps or both. I love it. So I think also that there's a lot of these images you could use and not do a St. Patrick's Day card, which I challenged myself to do on the last card, so you'll see that on the next one. Okay, for finishing up on these little die cuts, I took my white gel pen and I made like a little star, like 3 little lines and then some dots on there to kind of give them a shine mark, and I feel like that really helped to elevate them and have them stand up off of the background of this card. So I'm going to put some of these down right away. You can see I'm just gluing them down, and then the last 2 I'm going to save because I wanted to make sure I had room for my sentiment. So I have this die set here. It's called My Lucky Charm, and I'm just using the word lucky because I love the like bubbly roundedness of it. I felt like it really coordinated well with my marshmallows. So I die cut the outer piece. Well, I die cut it twice because it cuts out the outer piece and the inner piece at the same time. But I die cut it once from brushed gold cardstock and then a second time from mirror gold, and I layered the 2 together, and I love doing this. You could also pair these with glitter cardstock, so you could trade out one of those for glitter, gold glitter. I love pairing them together like that. I did the same sub-sentiments from the Simply Sentimental Lucky, You're My Charm, and put it around the word lucky, just tucking it in there. And then I was able to come back and add my extra marshmallows, as I like to call them. And I popped those 2 up just to have a little bit more depth on the card. I'm going to glue this entire card front down, which is 8.5 by 3.5, onto a very light blue piece of cardstock, so the light blue shows behind the cards. And then this whole thing is getting added to a slimline card, which is 8 3/4 by 7.5, scored at 3 3/4. It will fit in a business size envelope, and I brought back my Bokeh stars and added those because, more is more is more. And so there is that card. I have to say, I wasn't sure about this card, but I just kept going. After a few talks with my BFF, I am in love with how that card turned out. Okay, let's move on to card number 3. You might have seen, I did not use this one right here, the die cut rainbow. And when I die cut this out so I would have blue and yellow and pink, I was able to get 3 rainbows. So I just die cut a bunch, decided to use them to make a background. I'm going to take the Mini-Slimline rectangle die set, die cut out the 3rd from the outside to make a white rectangle in which I am going to glue down these rainbows. So what I did is I arranged them on my glass mat how I wanted them. Then I arranged just the largest rainbow so I could get them placed onto my card, my little background here. And then I am going to then glue down those bows, and a person could use like a T-square ruler and make these nice and perfectly straight. I am not that person. Whenever I try to do something like that, inevitably I get it crooked. I just do much better if I eyeball things. So if you are not like me, you could use a T-square ruler and do this and maybe get it a lot more straight. But if you are having more fun without a T-square ruler, then do like me and just eyeball it. And I think it turned out okay. So there they are, all glued down. They're so cute. And then I did something super scary. I wasn't sure if it was going to turn out. I didn't want to ruin this background I spent so much time on, but I just had this idea and I had to go for it. So this swirly heart is a standalone slimline size die from Trinity Stamps. I die cut it right from this background like a crazy person, and I'm so happy I did. Look at this. I'm going to paper piece this right back into place. So I'm not going to remove it, but you could put another color there. So here's the problem. When I'm going to glue this down, I wanted to make sure that my die cut would inlay back in there perfectly, but I, didn't want to get it too skinny on one end. So what I did is I just inlaid it like it was and use some tape from the back to hold it down so that it didn't get off a little bit in one spot. And that saved the day. I felt so clever doing that. So now I can add my glue and glue this down to my light blue background, which is the largest die from the Mini-Slimline rectangle die set, which by the way has stitched edges, and that's always a plus, right? So here's all the Simply Sentimentals. There's the lucky, the love, happy, birthday, thanks, hello, you, and holidays. They're so cool. Like it's a must-have in my collection. So I pulled out the hello, Simply Sentimental hello, which has this scripty little hi, and the dot, the tittle for the I is a heart. I die cut it from some pink glitter cardstock and glued it onto a shadow layer of vellum. And I love how this looks because the pink is like a shade lighter than the pink on my rainbow. And so I thought it was really good. So I just added glue there over the part of the background that is my glitter paper and glued that above that swirly heart. And my sub-sentiment is coming from this set, a sentiment for almost everything. And I'm going to put, I'm so proud of you. And then this card could be used for a lot of different things. You can really customize it by adding a sentiment on the inside or your personalized message that you write on the inside. I stamped this with some turquoise ink onto some white paper a couple times to intensify the ink, and there's a coordinating die that bubble cuts out every single stamp in this set. It looks like this. And I did that fancy little trick where you die cut out just the die a couple times, glue it behind your sentiment so it's nice and thick and raised up off your paper. And this is easier to do sometimes with things that are skinny like this sentiment instead of trying to do foam squares. So that's what I did. It looks really good. And I glued it into the bottom right corner before finishing this off and gluing it onto my Mini-Slimline card, which is a 6x6 piece of cardstock, scored at 3 inches, folded in half. And I brought out the Bokeh hearts for my embellishments. The stars just didn't seem to be the perfect fit for today's card. So I added the hearts instead and just put 3 right around the word hi and then 3 more right around I'm so proud of you to finish up this. It's fairly simple, and yet I put a lot of time and effort and love into this card. So there it is. Tell me what you think, but first I want to show you this little trick. Do your dies leave lines like this right here? So what I do is take the bottom of my crease tool and I just rub them out, a little burnishing, so to speak, and then you don't have those weird little lines that your die cut leaves behind. Now it also did this on the I'm so proud of you, and I did the same thing. So smooth it out, a little ironing, and then it looks so much better. So there's my completed card, and here's a look at all 3 of them. I had so much fun playing with this set. I think it's just different and fun, and I love all things food and like food related when it comes to stamping my cards. So I think that's why this one made me so happy. And I love that I have one card that really feels Lucky Charmish, that red slimline, and then you can use it in different ways. You can use this so that it's not for St. Patrick's Day, but it's super fun. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, chit chat with me in the chatting below, and I will see you guys again very soon on the next video. Happy stamping! Bye!